welcome back to Secrets from a Coach. And now, as part of our series that we've been doing on Powerful Presence, today we're driving into something I think so many people can struggle with. And that is, how do you stay calm? How do you stay present and perform well when the pressure is on? Because I think anyone can really show up confidently when life feels comfortable. But what about when the stakes are high, the nerves are kicking in, or the pressure starts building? What do we do then? So to help us unpack that, we're joined by the brilliant Tony Macalister, who has spent over 20 years coaching elite performers across Olympic and Paralympic sport with Team GB and Team USA. So Tony, welcome. It's so lovely to have you with us. Tell us a bit more about what you do and where you are and how you've ended up where you are today.
Well, thanks, Steph, for that lovely intro. First of all, it's an absolute treat to be here. Really looking forward to this discussion. I could literally talk about this stuff for days. It's a real passion of mine. Yes, as you said, almost a decade with Team GB, and then a decade after that with Team USA, both in the Olympic and the Paralympic arenas around the sport of alpine skiing. And I had lots of different roles within those two organisations over those 20 years. So assistant technical skills coach, elite coach, head coach, associate director, program directors, and even spent a year working as an equipment service person to really deeply understand what is such a massive element of performance in alpine skiing. Yeah. And one of those things, kind of taking those skills and lived experiences. So when COVID hit, when we were all sort of figuring that out, like many, I started to sort of reflect and think about the future. I started having conversations with family, friends, and my wider network about utilising my skills and lived experience within environments outside of alpine skiing and maybe outside sport as well. And I had some great support from people who believed in me and backed me, and I kind of made a soft entry doing just that with alongside my work with Team USA at the time. And then I sort of planned to transition away from skiing after our most recent Winter Paralympics in 2026. But I had a bit of a massive change in my personal circumstances in 2023 and over a very short period of time. And that kind of led me to choose to resign my position with Team USA. And for the first time in 20 years, I was home full time after being on the road for about 250 to 280 days a year. So it was a big change.
Yeah, that is a big change.
But since then I've been growing my own consultancy, focusing what I term building performance on purpose. Yes. And I've been fortunate to work with a really wide range of sectors, including banking, finance, legal industry, insurance, SMEs, healthcare, manufacturing, engineering, everything, and even a little bit of sport in the mix too, which is
so you haven't lost that little bit of sport.
No, that's what I really realised when I stepped away from sport. How, as we can often come to these conclusions that once we don't have something, we actually realise maybe there's more value in it than we once thought. Once we don't have access to much. So that was a real sort of learning moment for me. So it's been really part of my strategy to keep involved in sport as much as possible. Yeah. In a nutshell, I guess I see what I do now is helping people, individuals, teams, organisations raise their game, and importantly, and or maybe evolve or their game to better achieve strategic goals, crucially in a way that brings a little bit more joy to everybody in the process. It gets overlooked a little bit from time to time.
The fun element, isn't it? Yeah, the fun element. Yeah. I love the fact it's linked to purpose. And I also love the fact that you link your work to values and then the behaviours that drive those values and the impact that it can have. And we were talking about this on one of the earlier pods as well, around actually it might look easy when I suppose those alpine skiers get out there and do their thing. But I think people sometimes forget the amount of time and preparation and practice that has gone into that is huge. And celebrating the success and the milestones along the way, isn't it? So I think that's what's really important. So let me ask you this question, if that's all right, Tony. In your experience, because you've had a vast amount of experience working with very, different people, what enables people to be what we're terming poised for performance, and what goes into that readiness?
I mean, you're absolutely right there as well to say that when we see these elite performances from athletes or sports people, what we're seeing is kind of the spectators, if you like, those being exposed to the performance, is the very, very tip of the iceberg. You don't see everything that happens behind the curtain. And that's where the magic really happens. Yeah. And it's a great question, but it's a really complex question that you're asking.
I'm sure. I know, we always like layered questions. Yeah.
It can be very bespoke to the individual. But here's maybe an interesting starting point to consider.
Okay.
So athletes, full-time athletes, spend, I'd say, in the region of 80 to 90% of their time preparing to perform. So being best point for performance. Yeah. And maybe 10 to 20% of the time actually competing or performing. Yeah. Some perhaps maybe even higher than 90% if their chosen event is particularly short, say let's say 100-meter sprint. Okay, that's 10 seconds on average, give or take, for male and female times, okay? Yeah. So full-time elite athletes, maybe as well as some other professions, maybe some parts of the military come to mind, they have the luxury of a system and or a culture that supports focusing on those individual elements of performance. And importantly, the time and the expert support teams to develop and practice those behaviors, to develop the skills necessary to achieve those multiple little 0.1% gains over every little sector of performance to elevate the wider performance. Yeah. Take that in contrast to what most of us do in our professional lives, those that are not elite full-time athletes. Yeah. Which is definitely myself.
Yeah, me too.
We probably spend it's flipped. We spend about 90% of our time performing. So doing our jobs. Yeah. And 10% of our time maybe preparing if we're lucky. Yes. Yet, there's still the expectation that after that initial sort of heavy front-loaded preparation, which is school, maybe university or apprenticeship, or maybe a specific professional qualification, after we've done that, we're somehow just sort of expected to be able to figure out somehow how to best perform or indeed raise our performance in what for many of us these days is a really volatile and unpredictable environment, with maybe a few sort of sprinkled CPD days thrown in here and there when sort of finance or time permits. But this is the culture and the mindset that has evolved and exists and is adopted by many sectors for multiple reasons, of course.
Yeah. Yes, of course.
But what do we do with that? So you could maybe say, well, that's the bad news. The good news is that there are habits, behaviors, skills, and lessons that we can take from the world of elite sport and we can utilize to be prepared or better prepared to deliver our best performance. And the individuals and organizations that are doing that have recognized that. So investing in support, investing in training for their people performance are those, in my opinion, that are going to not just survive, but hopefully thrive and evolve, particularly when things are so challenging now. Yeah.
I just think that's, you're so right. And that's the biggest thing that certainly in the work that we do, as well as yourself now, is that, well, I haven't got time to plan, or I haven't got time to get good at it. I'm just learning as I go. And I said, and I suppose one of the things is, like, what have you noticed in relation to, I suppose, that drive and motivation? What is there or was there a common trait that you repeatedly saw in the very best athletes that you worked with compared to your world of work? How much of that was driven by them wanting to be the best or perform? Because people in the world of work also want to be the best and perform at their best. So was there a common trait you repeatedly saw in elite athletes?
Absolutely. And I had a bit of a self-indulgent little project as well I did on the side of a case study. And I had the opportunity to try and, through my sort of network, speak to not just athletes, but what we'd call elite performers. Yes. So those from special forces within the UK military, fighter pilots, Red Arrow pilots, news anchors, and of course athletes. Yes. And I was asking them, what do you feel are these are people who operate day in, day out in what we would class as elite environments. Yes. Just trying to identify those common threads of either behaviors or skills or mindset, perhaps, that ran through all of those. And there was many different ones that emerged. But the biggest rocks in the bucket were, so there's this term elite can be quite off-putting, can be quite kind of elitist.
Yes.
It can be quite scary. Like, well, that's not me, I'm not elite. That's reserved for the 0.1% of performers in whatever you're in.
So therefore I don't need to think about it. Yeah.
The biggest thing that came back from every single person I spoke to, from every single sector, was this. Elite is essentially being able to do the fundamentals of whatever the fundamentals of your performance are in any environment at any time. So regardless of the pressure, regardless of external variables, if you can execute the fundamentals to a high level, regardless of whatever's going on around you, that is the common trait of elite performance.
Wow. Okay.
It sounds really
that came around. Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
It really is. So just doing the basics really well.
Basics. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That is so, when you put it like that, it's very simple. But I suppose saying that, high performance also must come down to people feeling fully present in the moment as well, rather than just get distracted by that pressure or the expectation or the outcome that they're supposed to deliver. So how does that sort of tie in with that, especially when we're thinking about, what does that being present actually look like? Because they have to be right in it, don't they, to be able to execute the fundamentals really, really well without even thinking about it. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so simple and to say much more complex to actually execute.
Sure.
And that's why there's so much training.
Right.
And there's so much expert support for each individual element of performance. That's a luxury you have as an elite athlete, which we don't have in our most people's professional environment. So again, so how do we draw down in that? So again, if you're talking about those, what you outlined there with the variables that try to attack that ability to be able to perform those basics, those fundamentals under the different environments. So pressure, for example.
Yeah, pressure, yeah.
Pressure is an interesting one. And I think we need to kind of understand what pressure is, first of all, and what it means for us, because it can mean different things to different people. And I think there was a great quote from Billie Jean King, tennis player, and it's actually at the entrance to the Arthur Ashe Stadium where the US Open is played in the players' tunnel. Okay. So when they come out of the tunnel, there's a little plaque that says "Pressure is a privilege."
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay.
And that was a quote that she actually just kind of rolled off her tongue when she was actually talking to Lindsay Davenport back in the day, when she was sort of questioning her ability more than anything.
Okay.
But basically what it means is, the reason it's a privilege is because the outcome means something to you. One way or another, whether it is winning a tennis game, or whether it's getting a deal across the line, or maintaining a standard of service, or whatever it may be. So the reason we feel pressure is because we are involved. We're sort of involved in the outcome. It means something. There's value to us there. Okay.
Yeah. And
we've got to understand that. Okay, it could be a monetary thing for us. It could be actually a feeling thing. Okay, if I don't meet my level of performance, then the business fails, and there's 30 other people at the job as well. I don't want that to happen. So I feel a lot of pressure to maintain the business, maintain our performance through it. Okay. And there's a little side point there again. We've got to understand that the levels of pressure are also, it's up to perception of the individual.
Sure.
Okay. You could say maybe an elite special forces operator in contact, feeling pressure 9 out of 10 when they're getting shot at trying to do their job.
Yeah.
But that 9 out of 10 could also be experienced by a teenager sitting down to do their A-level exams.
True. Yeah.
Which is maybe have an influence on what's going to come next for the rest of their lives. Okay. So it's all a battle against ourselves and understanding what pressure is. Yeah. Pressure is good at helping us acutely focus on what is important in that situation, but when it tips over that edge into stress, that's where it becomes generally a negative situation. We lose that presence of mind.
Yeah.
We slip into a different part of our nervous system which kind of, we've all probably been familiar with flight or fright.
Yes, yes.
With a third element to that as well, which is freeze.
Freeze,
okay,
yeah.
So, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of worse of either making a good decision or a bad decision. What's worse is not making any decisions in the moment.
Exactly. Just standing there. Yeah.
So, as elite athletes or performers, we have certain mechanisms and skills and strategies that we can deploy to stay within that parasympathetic nervous system, rather than going off into the sympathetic nervous system, where the fight, flight, or freeze. So we're essentially controlling that vagus nerve, which controls our heart rate, controls our breathing, and that gives us the space to be present, to make that informed, purposeful decision.
Yes.
Which goes into really nicely. I worked with a sports psychologist for many years with Team USA, a guy called Dr. Arturo. Let me get this right, because he's got a fantastic Polish surname. Pokobadorski.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it takes years to figure that out, how to say that out. But he's a great guy who works at the University of Denver. He's come from a sporting background himself, a judo player, and to an international level. And he has this acronym. So when you're feeling that pressure, when your performance is under threat, if you like, you focus on the win. So the win standing for what's important now. Okay, what can I do right now that is going to positively influence the outcome that I'm invested in, because I'm feeling the pressure, first of all, go to that. What can I do right now? Which fundamental do I need to access to help get me towards that goal? So what's important now? And then, pairing that with maybe, let's say, breathing exercise or focus exercise to bring us into that parasympathetic nervous system response rather than the sympathetic nervous system response.
Yeah.
Again, simple, straightforward, but it's a practice skill. It's not just done over time.
And is it, I suppose that's interesting, because is it fair to say that we don't always get taught that, if you think, and I think, as you said, when you're surrounded by a team of experts that are used to that world and know how your body works and understands where you're going, whether, you can be too ready or too hyped, before a particular performance, and, does the adrenaline kick in more? But as you said, how do we let it work with us, not against us? And we don't get taught this. No,
and that's it. And I think the biggest element that is across all of what you just said there is self-awareness for me.
Yes, absolutely.
Recognizing that you're in it,
yes,
first of all. The first step is doing something about it.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
Oh my God, I don't know why I feel this way, but it's all going wrong. Oh, I don't know. Right? Okay. Or, oh, crikey. Oh, I feel that. Okay. I know how to deal with this.
Yes.
I have a plan. Like I said, so the difference is, those with an elite performers, they have all these specialist help, right? So they have their psychologists, right? They have their sports psychologists. They have individual expert teams helping them to develop that one individual skill that they might not call upon all the time, as well as technical coaches as well, obviously, strength and conditioning, nutrition, physical therapy, whatever, all these little experts. We don't have all that. So we have to become experts ourselves, and you get people like me and that have some experience of it and go, well, it might look like an elite behavior, but it's dead simple. It takes a bit of time, takes a bit of practice, but let's explore that together. I can help you understand that feeling, first of all, and then what to do with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm a big believer, I think you believe that, all people should have a coach. And I know on our last episode, we talked about the fact that, and I wrote an article about it actually, that, all performers, all elite performers at the top of the game will have somebody that's going to help them, support them when they need it in the area that they need it in. And that's why we always get a pushback, don't we? If you're like in the world of work, saying, well, I haven't got time to even go and speak to a coach or have a mentor or just plan my strategy. I'll do it on the back of a napkin. And it's like, how do we translate that, I suppose, back into the world of work that says, I always think, let go of the stuff you shouldn't be doing anyway. Give it to those people that are more expert in it or want to learn it. So you free up space. But a lot of people don't want to free up that space, don't they? So what have you seen happening in your world where people go, I want to do that. I don't want to let go of it.
It's huge, and it's changing that culture around asking for help as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Particularly, I think the further you get up organizational structure, we're to say C-suite, for example, we're expected to know certain things.
Yeah.
Right? And we're looking to you for that decision.
Yes.
But once it's quite, as the saying goes, it can be quite lonely at the top.
Yeah,
sometimes
absolutely.
Particularly if a certain culture exists within an organization, maybe historically, that those behaviors aren't valued. Right. So asking for help, well, this guy's weak, get the next guy in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, actually, that's a show of strength. You're absolutely right. So if we relate that to sport, there's a lot of people who come from elite sport that go into the corporate space and the business space that are extremely good at those things, and they brought all those skills with them. So I have this saying in terms of there's no such thing as an individual sport anymore. Okay. So you take tennis, golf,
football,
highest level. There's one person that's executing the final performance. The preparation and the team that is required to get that one person to that point is massive.
Yes.
You look at, say, Djokovic or even Rory McIlroy, okay?
Yeah.
Swing coach, putting coach, cycle coach, strength and conditioning coach.
Yeah.
So you've got a team of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and they're all expert in what they do.
Yes.
Because you've got to get those gains right. So we bring that back into the business world. We're looking at self-awareness. So what am I good at?
Yeah.
What am I less good at? We use Eisenhower matrix. What can I delegate? Okay.
Yes.
What can I give to the experts? Can I surround myself with experts so I can go and there's stuff there to ask those people to execute that particular part of the strategy I'm going to oversee, for example. And a side point again, knowing what your own individual part in that wider goal, that wider strategy is absolutely critical. In focusing your effort and focusing your skills, if you like. So it's again understanding coaching is absolutely necessary, whether it's giving yourself an external coach that maybe help develop that coaching mindset in yourself, or if you are leading a particular team and you adopt that coaching mindset, you can coach yourself solutions, but you could also help your people member within your team to adopt that mindset so they are actually more self-sufficient and not just coming to you with a problem. They have a mindset to figure out an approach of how to find a solution. Yeah.
You mentioned the phrase at the beginning, you were talking about building performance on purpose. And I suppose what practical habits or routines can get people into that sweet spot of what I'd call relaxed readiness, but they are ready to be there as if they are the nutrition coach, the psychologist, the fitness one, the swing coach. How do we do that in today's world of work?
Okay. In terms of, if we're talking about behaviors that we want to be able to access, there's a little bit in terms of the approach I take to like either pre-hab or rehab. Okay. So what can we do ahead of time? Right?
Yes.
So if we can visualize, so that's another skill, using visualization, which comes a lot from sport as well.
Yeah.
Using visualizations to track or understand possible futures. Okay.
Yeah.
So if we do this, so if our behaviors are this is the likelihood that this will happen. How much of that do I have control over? Who else has control over it? Can I influence other people that have control over it? And then you figure out the behaviors that are necessary to get to that waypoint, to get to the next waypoint to achieve that strategic goal. Okay, so it's a real strategy and process pre-hab. Okay, do things ahead. There's also another element. A lot of this takes bandwidth, right? A lot of it takes a lot of emotional energy.
Yeah.
And some of it is dead easy for us. Some of it is harder for us. Having an acute understanding of that. So again, back to self-awareness.
Yeah.
And you'll all be familiar, if you're all your listeners and yourself as well. So Stephen Covey's 7 Habits.
7
right?
Habits. Yeah.
Talked about the emotional bank account.
Yes. Yeah.
So what are the things? I kind of expanded that a little bit. It's purely based on relationships. I've kind of expanded that idea a little bit in terms of, okay, what are the relationships? Yes. What are the environments? What are the activities that either make a deposit in your emotional bank account or can take a withdrawal from that? So if you're knowing that you're going into, say, if you're talking, let's take the finance industry. So end of year for most businesses is a big pressure point,
it's a
right?
Big pressure, yes.
Well, what can we do ahead of time to fill up our emotional bank account, knowing that we're going to be under pressure, maybe tipping into stress from time to time? What can we do ahead of that? And what can we have to look forward to? And maybe booking some leave after that.
Yeah.
Okay. So recover from the rehab side of it. To
the
recover
rehab,
from it. Well, what can you do ahead of it?
Do, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about peaking your performance for the big event. And if your sport is the pinnacle is Olympic or Paralympic, that's once every 4 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but the end of year is every year.
Try that for a second, right? So Olympic 100-meter sprint, you've got 10 seconds every 4 years. It's bonkers.
Yeah,
why would you spend 4 years, millions and millions of dollars or pounds to hone your it's not even a guarantee. It's an opportunity to perform. There is no guarantee for outcome.
No.
You're just preparing yourself as best you can for that opportunity with no guarantee of outcome, because there's lots of things in that you cannot control.
Yeah, absolutely.
Other people,
other people. Yeah. Yes.
We try to do everything. Those that work at least we're all kind of control freaks, because we're trying to control everything as much as possible.
Yeah, we have to recognise that, don't we? But I love the fact that, people say about what have you done to prep for it? And, we were talking to Carl, who was, a dancer, and that rehearsal, the show was amazing, but the rehearsal, people don't see that behind the scenes stuff. Like you're saying, 6 months, 9 months goes into rehearsal. Like the Olympics, if you're going to be in the Olympics, 4 years of prepping and planning and adjusting, and it is madness. Yet at work, we expect people to just turn it round on a little shoestring, don't we? No wonder the people are burnt out or overwhelmed.
Yeah, burnout is a huge part of that. It had on my mind when you were talking about that. So that's about managing energy, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And being very consciously aware of what, like you say, adds to our emotional bank, what takes away. Because if we slip into that withdrawal or overdrawn or constantly overdrawn, then we're in trouble.
Yeah, we definitely are.
For me, like you're saying, trying to sort of draw down on those behaviours that we can do ahead of time. So self-awareness is for sure one of them.
Yeah.
So purposeful preparation, rather than just like, I've got to prepare. Well, what have you got to prepare? What's going to create the biggest impact on the performance?
Yes.
Okay. And then, so as elite performers, generally, we are outcome driven. So we want to win, right?
Yeah.
But process focused.
Right.
So we don't, when you're actually performing, we don't think about the outcome. We think about the fundamentals, the steps that we've identified beforehand outside of the pressure situation. I need to do A, B, and C, and that will give me the best opportunity for the outcome that I want. No guarantee, remember.
Yeah, there isn't.
It's the best opportunity. So that's why process focus. So you'll hear, I'm sure you've heard about people just, particularly from a military context, the training just kicks in.
Yes, you hear that time again, don't you? Yeah.
And that's that flow state we're talking about.
Yeah.
And when you see somebody, you see Serena Williams, or you see somebody with, or even Rory McIlroy, I was watching the golf yesterday.
Yes.
When you're in that state, you're just like you said, effortless, just complete flow.
Yeah,
but
you can see it, can't you?
Yeah, the point to get to that, all the work and the effort it's taken, and the time. That was what Rory's. So it took him 17 attempts.
17. Yeah, it was 17. Yeah,
to win the Masters first and foremost, right?
Yeah.
But he's a great one. There's all these examples of choking, as we call it. Right?
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Well, there always crumbles, and that's when pressure turns into stress, right?
Yes.
And is influencing an action. So maybe it's disrupting a swing pattern, right?
Yeah.
Or it's disrupting the way you go about constructing a turn in alpine skiing. Or like you said, in a business context, it's constructing the flow of how you present perhaps to a decision maker. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
That is one thing I wanted to actually state as well. So in terms of outcome focused, if we bring it back to business, we've got to sport is pretty meritocratic, okay? You've got to be the fastest, you've got to score the most points.
Yeah.
You've got to, have the lowest score, whatever it is, right? That's, the result, okay?
Yes.
The outcome. In business, it can be a little bit more nuanced than that, because a lot of the time it's a subjective decision. So you're presenting to a board or to a potential client. So you've got to understand, well, what do they value?
Yeah.
What behaviours do they value?
Know that, haven't you?
They value. If you're just going in and trying to give the best of you as you see it, that'd be great. But is that what they want? Is that what they need?
Yeah.
So again, insight can help you with that. So understanding audience and understanding what actually drives decision makers, and you can lean into that or not lean into that. And that's why having a goal is really important. Okay, this is my goal with this particular group of people or this particular situation. What are the behaviors necessary? Okay, do I need to practice those behaviors? Do I have those behaviors? Do I have time to practice them? Do I need to bring somebody else into the team that has a good level of that specific behavior necessary to achieve that goal? So share that Pre-Hab thing as well. So it's purposeful practice.
I love that.
Process focused.
Yeah.
But outcome driven.
Outcome, yes.
And again, clear goal. I want to reiterate, that's so important.
It is, isn't it? Because I know when we go in and work with people, we say, well, if we come in and do some stuff with you, and you probably have done the same. So what do you want to see different, or what do you want the outcome to look like? Because you obviously have got us in for a reason. And I'm always blown away, people can't always articulate that in a way, because it is mainly around, yes, they want to have the, more money in the bank, more this, more that. But then it is about how people work together 9 times out of 10. It's that togetherness which makes a difference. But when you say, well, what does good look like when we've been and gone? And it's like, I don't know, like Stephen Covey says, start with the end in mind, right? And I think that's one of the best things. Start with the end in mind. What does it look like, for you?
That's my strategy as well. Is like, what do you want to do? What's the purpose of all that? And then with engineering, where do we have strengths to be able to do that? Where do we need to maybe invest? But it's usually time is the biggest investment. Money is secondary for a lot of organizations, or maybe on par. But it's recognizing what your ROI is as well, going, actually, can I not invest in my people in this? Because if you want this outcome, and it involves this collaboration, maybe with internal and external stakeholders,
how are you going to do it? But as you said, they need the time to be able to plan and not run at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And, because we're on 24/7 and access, and, some of the great leaders we've worked with actually have used their time wisely, but it's been a tough lesson for them to recognize that, if they didn't, they wouldn't be where they were today. But I think people who are maybe just beginning in their careers, who think they have to work harder to be the best, I just think that's maybe not the right message we should be giving them around that. The harder you work, the more you'll get rewarded, and all of that stuff. What would you say to that?
I'd say work with purpose rather than just hard. Work with
purpose. Yeah, I like that. Thank you. Yeah.
And understanding what is valued. The way I work is that I don't go in and say, this is a culture you must adopt, right? It's more of, okay, what do you want to achieve? What is your culture at the minute? Does that serve that?
Yeah.
Or do you need to ask more of your staff, your people?
Absolutely.
Ask less, or you need to drop staff. You need to bring more on. Like you're asking people to work 18-hour days. But as long as that's open and clear, and it's a really conscious decision from people within that environment, that's okay.
Yes.
Right. But if that's what serves you out, and that's a culture that you're choosing to adopt, you can be a part of it, not to be a part of it.
Yeah. Okay. And I think, and do you think that's one of the differences? Because I mean, I know people go, when I'm younger, I want to be the top, premier footballer, or I want to be the top athlete, or I want to be this or that. Very few actually get to do it in the end. So, and I suppose it's similar to, like, they still work hard and they still do it. But as you said, if there's no purpose behind it and real drive to want to, I suppose, and the mindset towards it, that's going to be quite difficult when you get a little bit of a setback, which happens in the world of work as well, isn't it?
Really does, yes. And that's it. And how we deal with, how we frame and how we deal with what we're perceiving failure to be.
Yeah,
it's huge. And the feedback is really important in this, in terms of, again, if we bring it back to clarity of goal, okay?
Yes.
The goal is this. We want to give feedback on the behaviors that are specific to achieving that goal. A lot of organizations and culture, actually within the UK particularly, we tend to be quite sort of negative about our feedback in general.
They do. People don't like it. I love it.
No, because feedback culturally is like we only get feedback when things are going wrong.
Absolutely.
Or something hasn't quite got across the line. Okay, so we need to look at this and understand why we failed. Well, that's great. But if that's your only contact with feedback, there's a trigger to that, an emotional trigger to that. If you can redefine feedback to being this constant open loop and understanding, we feedback, we actually analyze things when they're going well as well. Okay, what did we do here that really made the difference here? Rather than going, that's done well next. That's our tendency. We did it, move on, but we don't actually know why or how we did it. So it's important to understand. Finding that culture around it can be really important as one thing. And that it's all about motivation, right? So how you deal with feedback involves that motivation, which helps you deal with failure, because that's where lessons are learned. You don't fail, you don't learn. You want every single successful sports person who has been consistent, and that's the key word, consistent, will have failed massively at some point. And again, Liz is Rory. 17 out of 10.
Yeah, absolutely. Bless.
It's so weak on that one, right?
Yeah, but he came back. But I suppose that's the difference, isn't it, between making those little, like, millisecond, those micro, adjustments and along the way. But they've been open to have that feedback given to them. And
maybe he wouldn't have looked into his mental game as much if it all been going to this as well. So the fact that you've reached a challenge, whether it's, a challenge in your performance at work, or if we're talking about a sports performance, we're driven to investigate how we can change that if it doesn't work. So that's a real opportunity. So failure for me is a massive opportunity.
Absolutely.
To actually break the ceiling of a performance. And helping people understand that and pushing to the point of failure and going, well, what happened to that?
What happened?
Controlled way, for sure.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, not random.
No, 100%. And that's on purpose, right? Again, there's that word again.
Exactly. It comes back to and I think that's when you're thinking about, what you do, that performance with purpose, I think is really, really key. And I think being able to do some work on that. But I suppose, we could continue this conversation. It's been fascinating because there are so many crossovers. And when you start to unpick, well, what stops somebody doing that? Why would they not want to have a go? We could be on there for hours, but I wanted to just ask you a question, Tony, if that's okay. If powerful presence is about how we show up when it matters the most, what does your own definition of showing up well look like today for you?
For me, again, it's bespoke to the individual. So if you know what your outcome, what you're trying to achieve from any given situation beforehand. So if I've gone into a meeting or a session, what do I want to, I usually ask clients to say, well, I had a client last week, perfect example of this, freaking out about this meeting that had been put in their diary very last minute, thought it was about to be shown the door, really freaking, like, last minute, like, afternoon on a Friday afternoon for first thing on a Monday, the whole weekend to kind of dwell on it. So I had a session with them on the Friday evening and we talked through it, talked about, well, okay, what are the possible futures, so as we mentioned earlier, that you think might happen? Okay. How do you want to show up? Okay. So, and the way I frame that is, how do you want to feel walking away from that meeting after it?
Absolutely.
So what's the outcome, right? So outcome driven.
Yeah.
process focused. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I want to walk away feeling, and they had 3 things that they wanted to get out of that meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I'm going to do that. And they are insights literate as well, and says, well, the people in this meeting, they lead with so much red. I lead with a lot of green, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to get my voice heard. And, so like, okay. So, well, let's talk about that. So you're going to have to dial up your red, or just wait for the space. It'd be okay to wait for the space.
Yes.
And then bring where you feel you're most comfortable with. Okay, so you have a choice there.
Yeah.
So we talked about delayed visualization. So they did a lot of visualization of different possible futures over the weekend. And actually they realized, so they were stressed. It wasn't pressure. They were stressed about this on the Friday.
Sure.
And they realized after I said, you email me on Monday after the meeting, let me know how it goes.
Yeah, let me know. Yeah.
So came back to me and said, actually, I realized actually when I did all the different visualizing possible futures and how I wanted to show up, actually the outcome didn't really matter as much as I thought it did to me. Okay. Really? So if you take that, there's that. So if it doesn't mean as much to you, all of a sudden the pressure vanishes.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Yeah.
So she's like, well, what do I want to get out? So they wanted to get out 3 things. She said, I got 2 out of the 3 I got. 1 is still being worked on. I'm like, okay. So you remember you said you wanted to walk away from the meeting with that? How do you feel about that? Great. That's what I wanted to do. That took purposeful mental rehearsal over the weekend to be able to go into that. And now they use that framework to think about again. So Pre-Hab. So before any potential stress situation for them, they have a framework to go, okay, what do I want to get out from it? How do I want to show up? What's important to me? Yeah. And it is that bespoke to each individual, but it is a practice skill to be able to execute that in the moment. And that's where the learning happens.
Yeah. And that's what I love about coaching, because that fundamental basics you've helped somebody to explore and have the foundations in place that they can come back to. So, I'm always a great believer that, if you have a good coach, especially in the workspace, they might come back maybe for a top up, but you shouldn't be seeing them for 4, 5, 6, 7 years. It's more of you've given them the skills and the empowerment to do it. So, Tony, if there was one call to action you would give our listeners, because we always like to have a call to action. Laura will do her share the secret once she's listened back to this. What would your call to action be if we're going to be like this, poised under pressure or poised for performance, having that purpose in performance as well? What would be one call to action for our listeners to consider?
Oh, I think the biggest, it's almost 2 that are sit hand in hand with me. First of all is raise your self-awareness and awareness of others. That's pivotal. Yeah. And also process focused.
Yeah, I love that.
Process focused, outcome driven. There is, I'm going to be cheeky and we add a couple of little sweeteners here at the end as well. So remember I talked about when I was asking you about those fundamentals of elite performance through all those different groups of people I talked to.
Yes.
So in line with the fundamentals, there was 2 other top 3s that came out of that.
Okay.
Those were, first and foremost, discipline.
Yes. Yeah.
So discipline, meaning, for me, discipline is choosing what you want most over what you want now. Okay.
Yeah.
So substituting what you want now for the greater goal and being really disciplined. And then the partner to that is accountability.
Yeah.
And this is back to Artur, the sports psychologist. I did a lot of work with him around accountability for the athletes in the team that I worked with. And that was about true accountability, because accountability is kind of thrown around.
Yeah, it is. And we're only accountable for ourselves, is what I always tell everyone. Yeah.
And that's it. So, true accountability is accountability, when no one is watching.
Yes.
When there's no audience, there's nobody to witness it. So getting out of your bed, doing the work, practicing the behaviors, following the process that is going to give you the best opportunity, not the outcome, going to give you the best opportunity to achieve that outcome. Those 3 things. So do the fundamentals really well, have the discipline to practice the fundamentals, and show up, do the work, accountability.
Yeah, I love that.
Everybody, every single elite performer And that starts at the grassroots. So
Yeah,
we're talking about early careers.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're saying. Get a mentor. Get someone who can give you that and support you on
coaching
that.
and mentoring. It's usually a blend of what I usually offer. It's not maybe pure coaching or pure mentoring. It's coaching with mentoring sprinkled in there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Those lived experiences.
Yes.
What I've seen be really powerful and really impactful on multiple environments, not just sport, not just business, personal life, all these different things. If you want to get change or elevate your performance, fundamentals, discipline, accountability.
I love that.
It's not hard work.
Yeah, they're not easy, but that's half of it, isn't it? You get the reward when you are standing up there and you go, I did that, and that's success. Celebrate that pat on the back moment. I mean, it's been fascinating to talk to you about this because we've always believe that there's a parallel with the world of sport and the world of business, and it's how do they merge together in a way, but there are so many anomalies that sit around it which we experience as well. So I just want to say a huge massive thank you for you giving us your time, because I think the work that you had done and the work you're doing now is bringing the two worlds together beautifully. So if people wanted to find out more about you, how can they find you?
I guess, well, thank you for that, first of all. I think, like I say, I could talk about this stuff all day, every day.
Fab. Yeah. We'll have to get you back.
About to bubble over. There's so much. There was one other thing I was going to say, but I'm going to save that for another time. So you have
save that for the next one. Yeah, definitely.
Where can you find me? So I'm always looking to expand my client base, also explore collaboration opportunities. So if you work in L&D or run your own consultancy, or if something has resonated with you today as an individual or an organization, tell me more about that. Or I could see how that might help me or help us or help my team. Reach out. Best place is to start. It's all on my website. So TonyMacalister.com. You can find all the necessary links and info on there. So that's TONY. And I know some people struggle with the variety of spellings of Macalister, but my Macalister is MCA. LLISTER. So TonyMacalister.com. And I say you can find all the information you need to reach out to me on there.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And I've loved it because, it's just a pleasure to talk to a fellow insight practitioner, but also someone who also recognises the core is self-awareness. And I love that you've sort of shared that with us today. And I love the fundamentals, the discipline and accountability. And as you said, it's the things that happen behind the scenes that is going to make the biggest difference, isn't it? So, Tony, I just want to say huge thank you. What a great opportunity to talk to you as well, with your prestigious career as well in the world of Olympics and Paralympics. It's, I love the fact that it's being blended together. So, we look forward to talking to you again at some point because, as you said, I think we've got more topics coming out of this for sure. But thank you for your time, Tony.
Great. Thank you for your time. Always a pleasure.
Right.
Thanks, Steph.
Oh, see you next time. Thank you. Bye.
We hope you've enjoyed this podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Email us at contact@secretsfromacoach.com or follow us on Insta or Facebook. If you're a Spotify listener, give us a rating as it's easier for people to find us. And if you want to know more, visit our website, www.secretsfromacoach.com, and sign up for our newsletter. Here to cheer you on and help you thrive in the ever-changing world of work.